In this video, I'll summarize the plot of Persepolis in about 4 minutes and give you an analysis of the story. Okay, let's get started with the introduction. Marjane Satrapi grows up in Tehran during the late 1970s, a time of political upheaval in Iran. As a young girl from a progressive, middle-class family, she is raised with modern ideals and admires her politically active parents. However, her world changes when the Iranian Revolution overthrows the Shah's regime, replacing it with an Islamic republic. Marjane initially embraces the revolution, believing it will bring justice, but she soon realizes that the new government is just as oppressive. The regime enforces strict religious laws, including mandatory veiling for women, and brutally silences dissenters. As executions of political prisoners increase, Marjane struggles to reconcile her faith with the reality of government oppression. She idolizes her uncle Anoush, a former political prisoner, but he is soon arrested and executed, shattering her belief in the revolution. As the new government tightens its grip, daily life in Iran becomes more restrictive. Marjane and her friends rebel in small ways, secretly listening to Western music, wearing punk-style clothing, and resisting the rigid rules imposed on women. At the same time, the Iran-Iraq War begins, bringing destruction and fear. The war forces families to live under constant bombing raids, and Marjane experiences the trauma of losing friends and neighbours. Her defiance grows stronger, but it also puts her in danger. She openly challenges her teachers, speaks out against government hypocrisy, and refuses to conform to the role expected of women. Fearing for her safety, her parents make the difficult decision to send her to Austria to continue her education away from the dangers of Iran. In Austria, Marjane faces a new set of challenges. Though she is free from Iran's strict laws, she struggles with cultural alienation and loneliness. She lives with different families, some of whom treat her with indifference or hostility. Wanting to fit in, she experiments with drugs, relationships, and Western ideals, but she never fully feels at home. She also faces racism and misunderstanding from Europeans who see her only as an Iranian girl, failing to grasp the complexities of her identity. Her struggles eventually lead to a personal crisis, and she ends up homeless for a period. After battling depression and illness, she decides to return to Iran, believing she can reclaim her identity there. Marjane returns to Iran, hoping to reconnect with her family and homeland, but she finds that the country has changed even more. The war has ended, but the government remains oppressive. Women are even more restricted, and Marjane feels like an outsider in her own country. She attempts to reintegrate, enrolling in university and trying to follow social expectations, but she cannot fully suppress her rebellious nature. She falls into an unhappy marriage, realizing that she does not want to live under the control of a repressive government or in a forced relationship. Eventually, with her parents' encouragement, she makes the painful decision to leave Iran again, this time for good. Marjane leaves Iran for France, understanding that she may never return. She reflects on her identity, torn between her love for her country and her inability to live under its restrictions. Though she has spent much of her life searching for where she belongs, she realizes that her strength comes from her experiences, both in Iran and in exile. The story ends with Marjane looking back on her journey, recognizing the sacrifices she and her family made. Though she is leaving behind her homeland, she carries her past with her, shaping the person she has become. A major theme in Persepolis is Marjane's struggle to define her identity between two worlds. In Iran, she is too rebellious and westernized. In Europe, she is seen only as an Iranian outsider. She spends much of the novel searching for a sense of belonging, only to realize that her identity is complex and cannot be tied to one place or culture. Her journey highlights the difficulties of being caught between tradition and modernity, home and exile. The novel also explores the theme of oppression and the different ways people resist it. In Iran, the government enforces strict religious laws, silencing dissent and limiting personal freedom. However, Marjane and her family find small ways to resist, whether through political activism, illegal Western music, or speaking out against injustice. Marjane's entire journey is an act of resistance, as she refuses to conform to expectations and continually fights for her independence.